guys, and welcome back to Reading Club. So today I'm going to start a new book. It's called Daisy and the Trouble with Burglars. I'm going to read you chapter 1 to chapter 5. Chapter 1. The trouble with burglars is they're really hard to catch. If burglars were easier to catch, then my mom would never have got told off by a policeman this evening, or let a policeman see her in her nightie, or had her car taken away. Catching burglars is one of the hardest things to do in the whole wide world, especially if you've only got one box of icing sugar, and no fingerprinting brush, and no microscopes either, which isn't my fault. Chapter 2. I knew something exciting was happening this morning because the phone in our house rang at 6:52. The trouble with phone calls is it's really hard to know what's being said unless you are one of the people who is holding the phone. Even when I sat right up close beside my mom and strained my ears really hard, I still couldn't tell what she was talking about. Whatever was being said in the phone call was definitely really interesting though. These are the words that I could hear clearly. Huh? No. No. They didn't. 3 in one night. No, they never. Anything valuable? That's terrible. Haddock, and cod too? No. No burglar alarms then? I bet they'll get one now. As soon as Mom said the B word, I knew exactly what had happened. Well, not exactly, but almost exactly. Someone, I wasn't sure who, somewhere, I wasn't sure where, had, for absolutely definite, wait for it, been burgled. Chapter 3. As soon as Mom put the phone down, I jumped on her lap and asked her who she had been talking to. The trouble with jumping on someone's lap is you shouldn't really do it if they're holding a cup of tea. Luckily, my mom had been talking on the phone for ages, so her tea wasn't very hot. It was still a bit wet, though. When she had dried herself, she told me that the person who had rung her before 7 o'clock in the morning was Grampy. Apparently, Grampy had walked to the shopping parade early that morning to collect his newspapers, and guess what? When he got to the parade, there were police cars all over the place. Not outside the newsagents, outside the fish and chip shop. That's the trouble with fish and chips. Burglars can't resist them. And that's not all they can't resist. Not only had the burglars burgled the fish and chip shop, they had burgled 2 actual houses in the same actual night too. And in the same actual town. The same actual town where me, Mom, and Nanny and Grampy actually live. As soon as I found out the 2 actual houses had been burgled in our actual town, I ran to the window to see if anyone had been burgled in our street too. But there weren't any police cars to be seen, so I ran back to my mom to hear more. Mom said that after Grampy had paid for his newspapers, he had bumped into the fish and chip shop owner outside the shop. According to the fish and chip shop owner, burglars had broken into his fish and chip shop in the middle of the night. But not only that, according to Grampy, they had done it under the cover of darkness. The trouble with the cover of darkness is it covers you really darkly. I reckon as soon as a burglar gets right under cover of darkness, it's a bit like wearing an invisible cloak. Especially if they're wearing a black jumper too, and black trousers, and black shoes, and a black mask. Black everything, really. That's what I'd wear if I was a burglar. Grampy said he reckoned the burglars had probably broken into the fish and chip shop because they were trying to steal all the money in the till. Fish and chip shops make loads of money selling fish and chips, especially large cod and medium skates. What the burglars didn't know, though, is that the fish and chip shop owner had emptied his till the evening before. So when the burglars tried to steal all the money, they found there wasn't any money in the till to steal. Mom reckoned that's why they stole some big bags of frozen cods and haddocks instead. I reckon they might have just worked up an appetite, especially if they had burgled 2 actual houses already. When I asked what the burglars had stolen from the houses, she said Grampy didn't know. One of the houses that had been burgled was in Hollyway, though, and the other one was in Cypress Drive, which were both almost nearly quite close to where we live. But Mom didn't know what had been taken, probably jewels and whooping big tellies, plus salt and vinegar for the burglars' fish and chips. Chapter 4. As soon as I found out that actual burglars had been doing actual burgling in the actual town where I lived, I knew exactly what I had to do. Number 1, ring Gabby. Number 2, start a detective agency fast. Well, fastest. Well, the trouble with starting a detective agency fast is it gets a whole lot slower when your mom suddenly thinks of loads of other things you need to do first. Like, get undressed, have your breakfast, and clean your teeth. Mom said my detective work would be a whole lot better if I was investigating on a full stomach and without sticky upper hair. When I told her that the burglars' trail would be getting cold and that I really needed to get on the case straight away, she wasn't the slightest bit interested. In fact, she even made me put my breakfast spoon and bowl in the dishwasher and damp my hair down with a really wet flannel. I mean, what is the matter with her? Hasn't she seen actual detective programs on the actual telly? Doesn't she know that actual detectives on the actual telly never have time to damp their hair down or pick their clothes and toys up off their bedroom floor? Top detectives just get a phone call, finds out there's a burglar, and get on the case fast. But not in our house. Thanks to my mom, in our house, burglars get given loads of time to escape before I'm even allowed to think about starting a detective agency. I mean, do you know what time it was when I was actually allowed to ring Gabby? Do you know what time it was when I was actually allowed to tell her that she needed to get over to my house really fast because we were soon going to be on the trail of dangerous criminals? 8:20. Oh well, better late than ever, I suppose. Chapter 5. When I told Gabby that a house in Hollyway and another in Cypress Drive had been burgled, plus the fish and chip shop had been burgled too, she squeaked like a guinea pig. Gabby said this was easily the best start to a summer holiday we had ever had. And she was right. When I told her we were going to catch the burglars ourselves by starting our very own detective agency, she nearly dropped the phone. That's the trouble with starting a detective agency. It's exciting and dangerous at the same time. I said it didn't matter how dangerous things got as long as we practiced our martial arts skills in my bedroom first. Burglars are defenseless against karate chops and really good wrestling holds, especially if you get them around the neck. Gabby said her mom kept a pair of pink furry handcuffs in her bedroom and she would ask if we could borrow them. And we made a list of all the other detective equipment we were going to need. The trouble with magnifying glasses is no one in Gabby's family has got one, and neither has my mom. Plus, no one had any bulletproof jackets we could borrow either. So we decided we won't put them on our list at all. Luckily, we had all the other things we needed. Notebooks for doing interviews, pens for taking statements, my mom's camera for photographing evidence, orange squash for drinking after chasing burglars, crisps for emergency, icing sugar for fingerprinting. All we had to do next was meet up, decide on a name for our detective agency, do our combat training, and get started. Well, that's the end of this channel. If you liked it, please click many likes and subscribe, Reading Cup. Happy New Year to all of you, and I'll see you tomorrow with a new and improved channel. Bye, everybody!